According to Plato, the human soul consists of 3 different parts. I feel this model from Book 4 of the Republic is an excellent description of the soul in its ideal state of balance. The 3 parts of the soul are as follows: the appetitive, the rational, and the spirited, which is called thumos, which is the emotional part. In their correct balance, the rational part governs but is closely aided by the emotional part. The appetitive part should be subservient to the rational and the emotional parts. The appetitive part is the purely animalistic drives, how much you eat, your sex drive. Generally speaking, it is the indulgent part. It should be governed by the rational and the emotional aspects in order to prevent overindulgence, greed, gluttony, addiction, and any other character flaw that might arise from being ruled by one's base desires. The rational part keeps it in check, and the emotional part lets the rational part know when the appetitive is deserving of or in need of fulfillment. The rational part has the final say, as the appetitive may at times pull at the heartstrings of the emotional part and convince it that it deserves to indulge at a time when it really does not. One who is governed by the repetitive and emotional nature could be characterized as being ruled by what Sigmund Freud called the id. People of this nature can often be borderline psychotic. So the rational part rules for a very good reason. The rational part alone should not rule over the emotional with an iron fist. Their relationship should be somewhat harmonious. Yes, the rational has the final say, but not without taking into consideration the sentiment of an emotion at any given time and discerning whether or not that emotion is just or unjust. If rationality suppressed the emotional and the appetitive at all times, then it simply wouldn't be rational. So the best way for me to explain the correct balance would be like this. Think of the rational part as Batman, the emotional part as Robin, and the appetitive part as the Batmobile. Robin is Batman's sidekick. He fights alongside Batman, but he is not in charge. You don't allow Robin to drive the Batmobile because Robin's kind of a dick. Robin belongs in the passenger side. You also don't allow the Batmobile to drive you around because that would be mental. The Batmobile is there to be driven by Batman. You can take it out for a spin from time to time, but you don't allow it to take you out for a spin. So, to be perfectly clear, the rational governs with the emotional by its side to stop it from becoming cold and detached. Together they rule over the appetitive. Now, if you cast your mind back to the triple system that I devised of the higher self, the ego, and the shadow, in its correct form it looks like this. So if we combine my model with that of Plato's model, we get this. The higher self rules, the rational and the emotional are joint second in command, the shadow and the ego are joint third in command, and the appetitive is at the base, subservient to all the above aspects. This is how I view the full and correct balance. As I described in Appledore, there is also an anti-balance, which is an inversion of the true Christ balance. This inverted balance or negative polarity would on this model look like this. This inversion of the correct balance is the worst case scenario, but it is a balance nonetheless. This is the state that the elite want to keep us in, and it is the state that the Antichrist consciousness wants to keep us in. It has the appetitive ruling, the ego and the shadow joint second in command, the rational and the spirited joint third in command, and the high self suppressed and subservient to all the above aspects. This model is decisively at odds with selfhood and spiritual sovereignty, and completely incongruent with enlightenment. Such a system will leave you powerless against the Antichrist consciousness. When the self doesn't occupy the temple, the Antichrist consciousness can enter at any given time and wear you like a glove. Why? Because to be in this state is to be in the image of the Antichrist consciousness. You will literally attract it to you, as just by being in this state, you are sending out a resonant signal, inviting it in. like a man with a death wish inviting Jeffrey Dahmer round for dinner. This brings us right the way back round to the somewhat paradoxical issue of Eminem and Slim Shady saying two different things at the same time with the same tongue and the same words in his verse on fight music. How can Eminem be doing a positive thing by casting light on the collective shadow while at the same time serving as a mouthpiece for this antichrist consciousness? Simple. He may be highlighting the collective shadow, but that does not mean he is in touch with his own shadow. As I said earlier, the Antichrist consciousness has no problem using the truth for its own ends, and it will do so regularly if it sees a wider benefit for its ultimate aim in the long run. The song Fight Music is from the D12 album Devil's Night. Devil's Night refers to the night before Halloween, where in Detroit, in a period stretching from the 1970s to the 1990s, there would be acts of vandalism and arson. So this is the face value meaning for the album's title. However, the song Devil's Night reveals yet again that all is not as it seems. The same dynamic as at players was evident in Fight Music. Eminem's verse from Devil's Night is as follows. I make music to make you sick of fake music, hate music, like devil worshipping Satan music. So say your prayers, your Hail Marys and Jesuses, take two sticks, tape them together and make a crucifix. Try to stop it, but you can't do it. A whole generation of kids blowing out their fucking brains to this Kurt Cobain music. Students converted to cane users. As soon as they heard it, went out and murdered and maimed to it. The main hook to this song is Devil's Night, because I came back to rule this time. Devil's Night, because I came back to take what's mine. Once again, this Antichrist consciousness is speaking openly and candidly about what it is doing, and it is mocking those who try to stop it from a false religious perspective. So, understanding all this, and knowing that Eris is manifesting through Eminem, in what other ways is this Discordian energy making its presence known? One way of discerning this is the secondary symbol for Eris, the letter K, from the apple of Discordia. Eris is of course a feminine aspect of chaos, but what of the masculine equivalent? Well, allow me to indulge in a little synchronistic conjecture and suggest that the male half of the Eris energy can be found hidden in this symbol. As I'm sure most of you are aware, feminine energy draws inward and masculine energy radiates outward. With this being said, the letter K, although traditionally, when viewed as a letter, is thought of as masculine, can be thought of as feminine in symbolic terms because it is an inward pointing arrowhead. If we flip the arrowhead so that it points outwards, we get this, which is a variation of the outward or male version of this Eris symbol. This symbol has a very specific meaning. It's called the Thorn rune, or Thorazaz. This rune is the Norse rune of chaos and is a male rune, confirming that it is indeed the masculine side of Eris. Thorazaz takes its name from Norse god Thor and the frost giants. Amongst some of the attributes of the Thorn rune are chaos, evil, giants, bad luck, illness, suffering of women, torture of women, aggression, conflict, breaking down barriers, enthusiasm, and aggressive male sexuality. It is considered the most dangerous of all the runes within the sphere of divination or magical practice. So, can we find the Thorn energy, or use of the Thorn rune, in popular culture or entertainment? The answer to the aforementioned question is yes. In the 6th instalment of the Halloween franchise, Double M Resonator, Michael Myers, bears the mark of the Thorn rune, and he uses it as a type of calling card. We discover in the film that a cult has been controlling Myers from the very beginning, using him to murder people every Halloween for their own ritualistic purposes. It is revealed that Myers was chosen to be under the curse of Thorn, which is an ancient druid curse representing a demon that spreads sickness and caused destruction. In order to prevent this, a child from each tribe was chosen to inherit the curse and would offer a blood sacrifice of its next of kin on the night of Samhain. At one point in the film, the leader of the cult reveals that we are approaching the dawn of a new age. In the producer's cut of the film, he goes on to say, quote, "War, famine, plague, these are signs that we must restore balance to the natural order of things," unquote. So a very Illuminati-esque idea, considering the notion of restoring balance and the dawn of a new age. The Halloween films inspired a litany of movies about masked killers, including the Friday the 13th franchise with masked killer Jason Voorhees, and the Scream movies. So Michael Myers is, in a sense, the prototypical model for the contemporary masked killer archetype, or at least in terms of fictional entertainment. This becomes fascinating when understanding that this masked killer archetype is the manifestation of the male aspect of chaos, aka Eris. So going from one double M resonator back to another, it becomes ever more clear why we would see Eminem dressed up as the masked killer. We have observed the feminine aspect of chaos in Eminem, so what about the masculine aspect? To reiterate, the masculine traits of the Chaos Fawn energy are breaking down of barriers, something which Eminem certainly has done, in that he broke down the barrier in hip-hop to pave the way for white rappers. The following Fawn attributes can also all be found in Eminem's work: illness and suffering of women, torture of women, and aggressive male sexuality. Starting with the Slim Shady LP, where in the song 97 Bonnie and Clyde, Eminem enlists the help of his then infant daughter Hayley to dispose of his wife Kim's dead body by throwing it into a lake. In the song Guilty Conscience, Slim Shady advises a man to date rape a 15-year-old teenager and leave her on the porch of her mum and dad's house. Then he advises a man who has caught his wife cheating to cut her head off. Eminem was of course notoriously sued by his mum for his exposure of her as a drug addict in the song My Name Is. Subsequently he laid into her in his follow-up album The Marshall Mathers LP on a few occasions. In the song Kill You he says, quote, "Shut up slut, you're causing too much chaos. Just bend over and take it like a slut, okay ma? Oh, now he's raping his own mother, abusing a whore, snorting coke, and we gave him the Rolling Stones cover? You goddamn right bitch, and now it's too late. I'm triple platinum and tragedies happened in 2 states," unquote. The entire song is about killing people, in particular women, strangling them, slitting their throats, etc, etc. Eminem has an abundance of songs like this, so I won't use them all as examples, but of particular note is the song Kim. In this song, Eminem kidnaps his wife, drives her to a remote location where no one can hear her screams, and slits her throat. The song culminates with Eminem yelling, "You were supposed to love me, now bleed bitch bleed, bleed bitch bleed, bleed." All the while, sound effects are made of Kim choking as her throat is cut. So all in all, I think we can safely say, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that the Fawn attributes of illness and suffering of women, torture of women, and aggressive male sexuality are all clear and present in Slim Shady's music. Therefore, Slim Shady exhibits both the male and female polarities of the Chaos Discordian energy. If Slim Shady is a demon, perhaps the best description of such a demon would be a Chaos Demon, and since he exhibits both male and female aspects of the Chaos archetype, it can accurately be said that he is a certain form of balance, the anti-balance or the negative polarity. It's interesting that on a graph representing polarity, the waves take on the form of M's. Perhaps on a synchronistic level, the symbol of the double M is telling us something. Turn this graph up vertically and we get the symbol for the spiritual polarity, the hermetic snake climbing the pole, aka the caduceus. Using this train of thought, both the double M and the double S for Slim Shady could be symbolically linked to the notion of polarity. As I've stated time and time again, the polarity of our temple is the determining factor of what type of energy we attract. That is to say, of who or what we allow to dwell within us.